4 hours? Really? Toro, get your act together. Hey everybody, welcome back to Garage Gear. I'm JB. So the Toro Timemaster is back in the garage getting some work done. This is never a good sign when the Toro Timemaster is propped up like this. So about 2 weeks ago, I was looking at the drag flap on this, and that drag flap broke on the Toro Timemaster after about 25 hours worth of use. I filmed a video of me replacing that Toro Timemaster drag flap, and that video will be linked down below in the description. When I filmed that video, this Toro Timemaster had about 33 hours on it. Check it out. Now the Toro Timemaster has about 38, and at about 37 hours, I noticed the drag flap was dragging out underneath the mower again, so that clearly means it broke off. And then on top of that, it caught the blade and broke off a bunch of pieces, and those flung all over my yard. What the hell, Toro? You're making some cheap stuff. So I got it propped up. Let's get underneath it and take a look. Oh yeah, same as the last one. Pretty much split right down the middle. Look at that. All chewed up from the blade. I lost about like a quarter of this thing. That's nuts. Now see, I noticed this thing was broken again because it was hanging out like this underneath the mower, extending way, way back. That's it. We're making our own this time. All right, let's get these wheels off. It's a 9/16 bolt. There we go. Take off our dust shield. All right, we'll take this wheel off too. Voila. Off it comes. Now we're gonna remove this small screw on this side and then on the other. And then this screw too. And then this should just flex right out. There it is. She's out. So here is the old one, which lasted 25 hours. This one lasted about 4 hours. And look at, same identical problem. It rips about halfway down. Same thing on this one. Unbelievable. Toro, get your act together. Now some guys messaged me on the last video and they said that once theirs broke off, that was it. They didn't like having it. To me, it's kind of a safety concern because things can shoot out. You never know what could be under there. Maybe a rock could shoot out. So I like having one of these on there. Time for me to make my own. So here's what I got in mind. I picked up this 5/16 3-foot threaded rod. So we're gonna use this to go between the ends of the Timemaster. I picked up some 5/16 lock nuts, and then I have these two rubber drag flaps, and these are off of an old John Deere 14SB, and these drag flaps, no joke, are probably over 20 years old. They're solid rubber. They only have minor little scratches, dings, and dents to them, but they're still intact after 20 years. Beats the 25 hours and the 4 hours that I got out of those guys. They have a sleeve to slip the rod through, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna measure these two pieces out, and I'm basically gonna make two smaller drag flaps to hang on this same bar. So you might be asking, JB, well, why are we doing two separate drag flaps like this? Well, if you look here, the drag flaps that I have broke somewhere right down the middle. My theory is, okay, if we put two smaller drag flaps as we're turning the mower, it would be putting less strain on the whole unit and rather just individual smaller pieces. We'll see. We'll give it a shot. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure these out, figure out the exact length that we need these to be, or what it was prior, and then measure out two halves. I'm going to make them as close as I can to this model, just as if it were meant to be on the Toro Timemaster. So I've measured the deck here, and it's about 19.5 inches from hole to hole on each side of the deck. So now I'm going to take my lock nut, I'm going to stick it on the end of my 5/16 threaded bar, and I'm going to tighten this down. So now I'm going to come over here to Mr. Wilton, pinch this down. That'll do. I'm going to stick this through the deck holes, and we'll see how long we need it to be. So this metal bar will need to be 20 3/8 inches long. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stick this in my vise, and what I'm gonna do is cut it with a good old hacksaw, because if I use my grinder, it's gonna create a really, really, really rough edge here, and it's gonna take me longer to get the lock nut on. I figure if I use a hacksaw, it'll allow me just to kind of do a quick cleanup on the edge and get the nut on. So I just got to tighten up this edge right here just a little bit. So I got some old files here. Let's just go to town with these. And let's see if we can get a lock nut threaded on. It's not too bad. All right, that'll do. Okay, so I got my metal bar cut. I'm not gonna need the remnant. I can set that aside for later. I have my two rubber flaps, but before I get to cutting these down to size, I wanted to show you something. This was gonna be my original idea for this drag flap. Now this is thick rubber. This is close to a 1/2 inch. This, I thought would be a good idea if we just take some metal clamps like these, and that way I could wrap it around the bar and then screw it down up here in the top corners. And originally I thought that would be a great idea, but the problem with that is this is so thick and really not as flexible as it should be. And what that could actually do is that could actually force the mower as you're going, and let's say you have to back up, well, the mower would actually come up and then drop down like that. So we don't want to do that to the mower. So we're setting that one aside. Now our old flap underneath here measures 21.5 inches long. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take our flaps, I'm going to measure 10 3/4 inches right here, and I'm basically going to recreate this flap with 2 smaller flaps. I'm going to take my Sharpie here, we're going to mark it at 10 3/4. We'll use our straight edge here, just like that. Then I'm going to do the other at 10 3/4 inches. And if I line them up, they should be pretty much dead on our old length. That looks pretty accurate. Now, in order to mimic these flaps here, what I got to do is come down maybe about 1/4 inch and then over about 1.5 inches. About 1.5 inches. And then we're going to go up about 1/4. Perfect. Just like that. Take our straight line. And that is where we need to cut. Same thing on this side. I'm going to measure in about 1.5 inches. Not perfect, but it'll do. Boom, right there. Let's start cutting. So now I'm going to cut this with a normal box cutting knife. This shouldn't be too difficult. And voila, there's our edge. Same thing on this side. There we go. Then we have our 2 flaps. This will allow it to pivot a little bit easier around tight turns so it won't rip and shred the thing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so here is our new drag flap all put together. Touch with me. All right, let's get this thing on the mower. All right, so now I'm gonna put my rod in, and on the other end, we're gonna put our flap, feed that through. It's a little snug. Voila, now we'll get the other one. All right, now we're gonna feed the other one on. I did put a little WD-40 inside the slot, so it should help it slide on a little bit easier. Almost, and there we go. 2 individual flaps underneath. All right, so I'm gonna take a 1/2 inch wrench. I'm gonna put it on the other side on my lock nut. I'm gonna hold it down and I'm gonna twist the other end on with a ratchet. And ladies and gentlemen, that is on. So that looks pretty good if you ask me. Swings nicely. John Deere and Toro tag teaming. Nice. We're gonna slide our debris shield back on. We're gonna slide our wheel back on. We're gonna lock it down with our socket. We're gonna slide on our other debris shield. Don't forget your washer. There we go. Slide on our nut. And you can see that those bolts down there missed by about 1 inch. That seems to drag pretty nicely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. That took about 15 minutes or less to make that drag flap. It's about the same length and just a little shorter in terms of width. If you're thinking about making this yourself and you want to purchase those John Deere drag flaps from me, just shoot me an email down below in the description. And if I got any, I'll get them out to you right away. Be sure to check out all the other parts and tools used in this build down below in the description. Please like and subscribe so that way you stay up to date with all my latest video updates. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the garage.